you is going to be for you to please give us a brief introduction about yourself and what you do currently. So, what's your educational background and your professional background?
Okay, yeah. Thanks once again for having me for today's session. Okay, so I'll just try to give a brief introduction of my educational background from inception. Uh,
Okay.
I finished my bachelor's in electrical and computer engineering from University of Lagos with the first class. Uh,
Awesome.
Beyond that, I my focus then was telecommunications engineering, and I started working with Abzone then as an infrastructure engineer before I rose to become oversee the engineering and security section. Later in the line, I moved to the US for my master's in electrical and computer engineering, and I did my master's in Michigan Tech University, where I focused in underwater wireless communications. While doing my master's, I had a co-op with DocuSign, where I worked as a network automation engineer. Currently, I work with Facebook as a network automation engineer. I feel that's briefly all about myself in terms of my educational and professional career since inception.
Awesome. I hope you don't mind me asking this question, but is there anything that actually inspired you to go underwater, the underwater wireless communication? Was there
Okay.
any particular trigger for that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Previously, there has been a lot of research and a lot of tech in terrestrial communication. When I mean terrestrial wireless communication, I mean the way we communicate via GSM, the way we use broadband internet. And there's been very little or no research going on in underwater, and there are a lot of benefits that we stand to gain. Uh, Mainly, if you look at the oil and gas offshore exploration itself, there are a lot of undersea cables that are being used in terms of detection of where we have like the oil deposit itself. So those were one of the spark that kind of made me to kind of go into that kind of research. And I also tried to leverage the fact that I had a prior experience in understanding of wireless communication, and I felt I needed to kind of apply to something that was very interesting and exciting to me.
Awesome. That does sound very interesting and exciting. So let's move on to the next question. So I know that you currently have some personal projects going on in Nigeria. So can you introduce us to your company? What would be like an elevator pitch for someone who does not know about your company and your services?
Sure. The name of the company is Cyberfleet, and Cyberfleet was designed then to try to bridge the gap between instructors and students in Nigeria. And one of our primary goals then was to kind of improve learning outcomes and use technology to power education. Beyond that, we created a product called Class Connect. Class Connect is the learning software, which is the flagship product of the company. And up to date, we have a number of schools who are using this product to kind of ease their learning and try to ensure that learning is much more impactful to both the students and the school. I would also like to mention that we understand the fact that there are a couple of infrastructural gaps in our educational sector in Nigeria. And one of the key things we had to do was to kind of create some allied services in Cyberfleet that also try to ensure that some key basic amenities or key basic dependencies that requires the platform to work in schools, we're also offering the services. This range from enterprise infrastructure and security to software development, and it also have a couple of other things that we're also trying to do to kind of ensure that schools are much more positioned to leverage tech to drive their learning itself.
All right, that sounds really good. So the fact that we have people out there that are trying to bridge gaps in the educational system in Nigeria that has been abandoned by the government, it's really very motivating to hear stories as yours. So the next question would be, what audience does your company cater to? And in the past, have you had any noteworthy partners, or if there is any you work with presently, or some that you are in talks with for the future?
Okay, so our target audience secondary schools,
Okay.
universities, learning academies, and the capacity development section of corporates, more or less like the corporate enterprise. And our market spans beyond Nigeria and a host of other African countries. When you did mention about our partners, we have some local partners in Nigeria. We have the TEF, which is the Tolu Melo Entrepreneurship Foundation. We have the Nigerian Communications Commission. We also have a couple of partnerships with some state government ministries of education as well. As regards regional partners, we partner with a leading edtech company in Zambia called Bookit. So those are the ones that are also trying to drive the use of our products in Southern Africa.
Okay, that's impressive. I do love the fact that your company is wild reached. So, what's your bigger picture? So, do you plan to take it outside of Africa, cover the whole Africa? Yes, so what exactly is the big picture for your company?
Um, the bigger picture for now is to maintain our presence in Africa and just try to attain dominance. The market share is very huge, and the players in the market are still very, very limited. And if there's one thing if there's one reason why we are also trying to narrow our scope is the fact that there are a lot of similar solutions out there in like in other continents which are also doing very very fine. But if there's one thing that they've not been able to kind of penetrate our market is because of the costs. And one thing why we're very very competitive is the fact that we have a very competitive cost in terms of our pricing itself and our solution offering. So still narrow it down the focus to Nigeria and a number of countries within Africa itself for now.
All right, that is good. There is nothing that beats people that know a culture providing services for the culture. So let's move on to the next question, where we talk about what actually motivates you. What motivated you to go into computer sciences? What motivates you to stand up every morning to do what you do? You said you worked for a multinational company and you still have other projects on the side. And how do you balance it?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And I guess quite a number of people keep asking that question. If there's something that motivates me in this life is I always strive to be a better person of myself. And what I mean trying to be a better person of myself is the fact that day in, day out when I wake up, I try to see how well I can improve my technical skills, my soft skills. And by doing this, I find it interesting that it has positive impact on people itself and even my daily doings on what I do on a daily basis itself. And all in line, all these things try to build a stronger and healthier society itself. I feel those are very, very key things that really motivate me, like which kind of pushes me every time I wake up in the morning. Okay, like what can I do? What are the things I can do? And all in short is it's kind of makes you to know that you are really playing an active part and you're contributing your quota to the growth of your society, not necessarily internally but also externally as well.
Mm, yeah, that is very good. So did you always know that this was what you were going to do? Or you came to that realization at some point in your life?
Yes, I'll try to go down the line of history when I was about entering my university from high school, and then I kind of had passion for computing. Then, not necessarily computing alone, but then I also had like very very key interest in mathematics and physics itself. But aside that, when I started my undergrad in my 200 level, we offered a course called C++, which was more or less like one of the programming languages then. But apparently, in school then, we had to just take the course within 1 or 2 semesters. But we had the option of going to another department, which is computer science, to take like an extended version of the course. Based on my interest, then I did like an elective in my 300 level, and I took that course itself, and that kind of gave me much more interest in the fact in programming itself. And also, while I was also trying to hone my skills in programming, my major then in electrical and electronic engineering was wireless communication. So it was more or less looking at like an hybrid approach of trying to use like programming to kind of enhance the telecommunication infrastructure in whatever I'm trying to do.
All right, that is very good, and it's very evident that you do have passion for what you do because you've remained steadfast in the path, and you are becoming a beacon for people to actually look up to. So our next question is going to talk about the flagships of your education or your career. So we're focusing on what exactly made you successful at what you do.
Okay, I will try to pin it down to about two, three. The first one, which is very, very crucial to me, is the fact that I'm very hardworking. And when I mean very hardworking, it's not like I don't necessarily know myself to be very hardworking. Also, people around me that work with me or that know me know I'm very hardworking, right? So I try to go the extra mile to get things done, which is also very, very key in my life. And something I felt that must have shaped me to be where I am today is that I'm not really always the smarter person where I am, but like it takes me longer to understand and get the concept of things. But whatever pain I try to take to understand things, it kind of sticks longer than expected. So this particular these two major things to me are really kind of have been very, very critical in my life, so far.
Awesome. Okay, so that means you mentioned hard work and just putting more time to understand things, and then it does stick.
Yeah.
Which I feel they are very good ingredients to make a successful career. So the next question talks about sharing milestones and how you conquered it. Because when we look at life, life is never just a straight road. There are always going to be bumps along the way. So can you share one or two with us and how you actually overcame that milestone?
Okay, yeah, that's that's a very, very good question. And the first, which is very, very personal and dearing to me, is when we rolled out our flagship product, which is Class Connect. Um, we conceptualized, we designed, we developed, and we rolled out this product within 8 months. And if I can pick up something that was very, very instrumental in us getting this product out, was the fact that there was a proper definition of our vision, and in terms of and also we had a much more structured implementation plan. We had a couple of hiccups whereby we had people that were working for you and had to leave in a very short time, but being staying very focused on the vision and the fact that we needed to make an impact in the educational sector of Nigeria, which was very, very passionate to us, is one thing that I really owed firmly to myself in terms of like one of my key milestones in life. And one another thing why I try to point on this is the fact that we all know in 2019, last year, which is 2020, like the world was kind of like a standstill when the COVID-19 pandemic really altered a lot of things, and it had a major blow in the educational sector of Nigeria. Thankfully, we had the vision years back to roll out Class Connect, which is like an e-learning platform, and we realized that a number of schools then adopted the product in a very short time because we felt that even with the COVID-19 pandemic, we still had a product that ensured that learning was still continuous in schools, and instructors and students were also trying to exchange like different content in a very, very short while. Not necessarily putting the educational sector in Nigeria on a standstill, but also kind of moving in the event of any like unfortunate or unforeseen incidents. Second, to me, is I think this is much more on a professional side, not necessarily on an entrepreneurship side. Was during my days in when I finished my bachelor's, I was privileged to get a job as a network engineer then with Abzon. Abzon is a leading fintech company in Nigeria, and they have very good presence in Western Africa. To just cut the long story short, I was still doing my NYC then, which is like a mandatory service for new graduates in Nigeria, and I was barely about 6 months into the job. Unfortunately, my the lead, who was like the manager I was reporting to, had to transition to another job. Meaning he left the company, and we had about three resources then. So we had two when the person left. Apparently, being a much more like senior person compared to the other person that was there. And I noticed that the management had saw potentials in me in tax that in the fact that in a very, very short time I was really delivering on the set tax and also ensuring that the infrastructure of the organization was very stable and we're still driving high performance system. I was kind of made like the acting head then. That's a very, very that's more or less like 1 year after school. And it was like a very it was I can't call it a litmus test, but it was a very, very big test on me. Meaning I had a very, very big shoe to fill. And interestingly, in my evaluation, which is more or less like the probation period was about 8 months then, and it was very important about based on the fact that I was very, very hardworking, well coordinated, ensured that I had a very set vision, and I drove the implementation like in phases. I lived up to expectation, and I was kind of made like a substantive head of the infrastructure of the company. Then, I feel those two things kind of really define the way I see myself, and it's more or less like a wake up call to kind of do more and try to create better systems in wherever you belong. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very good. I know a lot of people talk about having opportunities, but not a lot of them know what to do when these opportunities actually come knocking. So the fact that that happened and he made the best out of it and came out victorious, that really says a lot about your character, and it's no surprise that it's one of the milestones that led you to where you are right now.
Sure.
So our next question is to just inquire about your plans moving forward with your career and or your personal life.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I'll regard us as a like a midterm slash long term goal. So my plan in the next 2 years is to own my skills in DevOps and network automation, and trying to use these skills to configure and manage like very huge infrastructure which is at scale, that is supporting systems that or applications that are used by billions of users. I'm currently doing this in where I work, which is Facebook, and I hope to get better and try to perfect some key areas I feel I'm kind of deficient in within 2 years. So that's more or less like a timeline between 2021 and 2023. The next 2 years afterward, which is like 2023, 2025, I plan to kind of transition to more or less like a managerial position, utilizing my technical leadership itself and the experience I've been able to garner in the past years to drive people or to drive changes in an organization via using people that are working with me, more or less like still achieving the business objective, but also trying to inspire people who are also working with me. So it's more or less like a managerial perspective towards what I'm trying to do. And within that time space, which is more or less like 2025 and beyond, I feel I'm much more inclined towards helping people. I like try to go the extra mile to ensure like I make positive impact in people. So it's more or less like me trying to come up with some like-minded folks and see how well we can mentor like the upcoming generation of Nigerian youth students then who are very interested in STEM, and see how well we can properly coordinate and navigate their career for excellence and for them to be able to kind of succeed. Bearing in mind that wherever this particular field we belong, we have like endless possibilities, we have endless opportunities there. So it's something that it's very, very interesting for me to ensure I also tap people along while I'm growing.
Yeah, that's actually really great because currently in Nigeria, the education system and the professional system, they really don't have very synergistic handshake where students come out of school and they have absolutely no idea what the whole professional life is all about. So I think mentorship is a way to actually bridge the gap between these two. And it's good to know that you're working towards that for your future goals.
You're right.
And yeah, it's something that's definitely going to help the growth of the youth of Nigeria, who are in turn going to change the direction of our economy.
We are hoping for that.
So our next question is, I know you've briefed about this when you were talking about what you do with Class Connect, but how important is education for the future of technology in Nigeria?
We cannot rule out the fact that qualitative education as a way of like driving or creating better society. So a good scenario is that if you look at the like first world countries itself and look at countries who are leading the pack, right? When you try to check the standard of the educational sector, yeah, you all come to realize that it's on a very, very high note. And we both of us will agree that it's something that is still a bit lagging in Nigeria and something that we also need to work on. So in order to sustain this momentum, we need, or it's very important for we as private individuals or even as the government or stakeholders to actively invest into this sector to ensure that, okay, we can also compete actively with other nations across the world. And another thing again is that is very, very important, which I always try to mention, is that one thing that so it's one thing for you to go to school, it's one thing for you to be well educated, but there's something I know everyone tries to take out. If you see an educated minded person, if you see someone that is educated, you clearly agree with me that the level of critical thinking and problem solving like approach a person has, it's much more better than someone that is not really that educated. Let me put it that way. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is that you want to, but looking at the fact that, okay, this is education, right? And looking at this is how well we can use technology to address most of our pain points. So in order for us to kind of sustain this momentum, because there are we have a couple of startups in Nigeria that are also trying to disrupt the space, are trying to come up with novel or existing technologies to kind of improve the system. But what I'm just trying to say in essence is that a much more educated society will also kind of improve more in what they are doing and try to create better products and much more competitive products that we can also even export to the greater world itself.
Great. Yeah, I guess this your answer then feeds into our next question for what exactly is your vision for Nigeria? Personally, where do you think you want Nigeria to be?
I pray or I hope. I feel like I don't know, maybe it permits me to use the two words, but I pray to see a country where like protection of lives and properties is very, very paramount to the government. I'm hoping to see like a country where the key decision makers, more or less like people that occupy people who are in the corridors of power, are people with competence, people with capability, people with integrity. Because I don't know, if you can never rule it out the fact that when you put in people with the right skills and mindsets in a leadership position, definitely it's kind of translates top down in terms of how the society or how the country is growing. So I'm looking at a situation where things like that is going to happen. But that being said, what I always try to tell people is that we can always hope and pray for the government to do their work. We as private individuals or we as stakeholders in the country itself, I feel it's also very, very important for us to see how well we can contribute our own quota to the growth of the country. And if it's something we were doing, I'm doing that using my company itself, which is CyberFit, we're using our own product, which is Class Connect. And what we're trying to do is to ensure that we're using technology to power education by trying to improve the learning outcomes in the country itself and even beyond itself. Yeah.
Wow, I couldn't agree more. I think Nigerians really need to change the way they think. It's like waiting for the government, waiting for public bodies instead of actually starting to internalize the change and looking for what they can do for the country. So thank you very much for those wise words. And then that will lead us to our final question.
Yeah.
Looking at where you are currently and all that you've achieved, do you have an advice to your younger self of what you could, basically what you could have done when you were younger to probably help better achieve what you've achieved now, or like a higher goal for yourself?
Yes, I do, and I'll try to answer this question by also looking at the key attributes which I felt have been very very important, which is more or less like self development and being advocate. But if there's something I felt I should have, if there's something I felt I would, if I had done earlier would have made me better, is the fact that uh, I don't really know, but I noticed then back then, but in Nigeria, a lot of youth or younger ones don't really see the positives in having what we call very very important network, meaning that the ability to network with people, not necessarily within your own particular ego, or even trying to extend beyond. I felt would have had a better impact in my growth itself. So if there's something I felt that I should have done back then is networking with people more, like meeting people more, trying to see how I can expand beyond my own niche. Because why I know if you ask me why am I laying so much emphasis on on what network can do. So my transition from school then to entrepreneurship when we started Cyberfit and Class Connect, that was when I saw the importance of knowing people. So if there's one thing I want us to understand is the fact that even if you're in business, you should understand the dynamics of the market you're operating. And we work in a society where knowing people can take you further than even the quality of what you're trying to sell. So doing our rollout of the product, I felt what we kind of capitalized at some point was the fact that we're trying to build some relationship then, which also aided the fact that we had to onboard some customers. But however, I felt if previously I had understood the importance of this, I would have done more in that part, because it would have taken us further in where we are right now than where we are right now.
Wow, no wiser words have been said, really, because I didn't understand the importance of networking too when even till I finished university, until I started my master's, and I can tell you almost everything that I have achieved right now has been because I just stepped out of my comfort zone and started talking to people and trying to build something with people.
You're right. You're right. I totally agree with that.
Thank you so much. So that actually brings us to the conclusion of the interview. Again, thank you very much for your time, and I'm very sure with all the words of wisdom that you've shared with us, you're gonna. The whole point is actually to try to move the younger generation, to give them people to look up to. So I'm sure you don't mind people contacting you on LinkedIn for mentorship or anything of that sort.
Yeah, I feel it's that my LinkedIn has been filled with the lodge of messages. Like on a weekly basis, I try to attend to so many people. A few days ago, I got a message from someone who is in student level in one institution in Bayelsa, and he apparently reached out to me for career advice. He's currently studying computer science, and he probably doesn't really know which aspect in computer science you focus on. And so I even have a couple of templates where I try to send to people on how well they can try to navigate their career. I know it's something it's a major issue in our country, where most students out there or in university, they find it difficult to kind of determine where they want to go, more or less like self-discovering what's the next line of action. Yeah, and I feel it's something that's one thing that has kind of prompted me to kind of look inward into how I can mentor people and trying to identify what exactly they want, what exactly they cherish, and what exactly will make them a better person in society.
Well, you're already making this step in the right direction by giving companies newsletters this kind of time because whatever we have recorded and then we put out there would reach a lot of people at once, and then it will have maximum impact from a lot